If you want to be a leader of this country, then when the war of your generation comes, you must not duck it. And if you duck it, you are not a patriot. And so, as you know, I did round up a harum-scarum group of cowboys and Indians, the most heterogeneous group that ever marched into battle. And on July 1st, 1898, my crowded hour, as you like to put it, I led the assault up Kettle Hill. It was meant to be a cavalry charge, but for logistical reasons, all the horses, save one, had been left back in Florida. And these cowboys that I had gathered out of Wyoming and New Mexico and Arizona and Dakota had never walked in their lives. Back in Medora in Dakota, a cowboy would get on his horse to cross the street to the next saloon. And so suddenly these bow-legged boys were placed on their feet in Cuba. And that morning, July 1st, 1898, we were to charge up the hill. There were Spanish snipers up there. And they had Mauser rifles, smokeless rifles, so we couldn't see where the shots were coming from through the dense morning. The men were holding back a little. They were a little afraid because we were going down like ninepins. And in fact, Bucky O'Neill, my dear cowboy friend, was standing next to me. And he boasted, "The Spanish bullet has not been made that could ever strike me." And at that moment, his head exploded. Yes, he was shot in the skull by a Spanish sniper. So the men were a little afraid, and I was on my horse, the only horse there in the battle. Richard Harding Davis, the great national correspondent who was with me on that occasion, said it is a miracle that Roosevelt was not killed, because he was the most conspicuous object that day. And I turned to the men who were holding back, and I said to one of them, "Are you afraid to go forward when I am on a horse?" And he got up. And we challenged that hill. We took the largest number of casualties of any group in Cuba. And we liberated Kettle Hill. And then I turned to the men and I said, as long as we've done Kettle Hill, we may as well do San Juan too. And off I went. I looked back and there was nobody behind me.